Hey you guys, I hope all is well with you. I've been missing for a day or two. I had so many out of town appointments for getting on the kidney transplant list and they really put me through the ringer yesterday. I didn't get home. I was gone for maybe 13 hours, including the travel back and forth. But I'm here today and I'm ready to give you guys some news. So, according to Reuters, Egypt is building 21 new desalination plants in an attempt to make sure that they have water for everything that they need. So, desalination, you guys, is when you take salt water from the sea, you take water from the sea, let's see, from the Atlantic or the Pacific, let's use one of those. That water has salt in it. It is not okay to drink. This desalination plant will take that water and it will use reverse osmosis to separate the salt from the water. And water from the ocean is forced through thousands of tightly wrapped semi-permeable membranes under very high pressure. And the membranes allow the smaller water molecules to pass through, and it leaves the salt and all the other impurities that we as humans cannot have. You know, we can have salt, right? But not in our water. It leaves all of that behind and only the water molecules will pass through. So we're resorting to stuff like this all over the world to try to secure enough clean water, which is what I was telling you guys. If you go look at my other videos, the world is running out of clean, fresh water. Not just here in the United States, all over the world. So Egypt, this story is about Egypt. It came out today, this morning, December 1st, that Egypt is building 21 desalination plants to try to secure water. So let's get to this article. Egypt plans to award deals next year to build 21 water desalination plants in the first $3 billion phase of a program that will draw out cheap renewable energy, the CEO of the country's sovereign fund said on Thursday. Egypt, which recently hosted, well, we're not going to talk all about what they hosted, but let's talk about the water. Egypt depends almost entirely on the Nile for fresh water. That's the River Nile. And faces rising water scarcity for its population of 104 million. The desalination program aids to generate 3.3 million cubic meters of water daily in the first phase and eventually reach 8.8 million cubic meters daily at a cost of $8 billion. There had been expressions of interest from more than 200 developers from at least 35 countries for the first phase, Solomon said. The Sovereign Fund was set up in 2018 with the goal of attracting private investment in state-owned assets through partnerships and co-investments. And it is currently focused on getting private consortia to develop brownfield infrastructure and private equity to develop state-owned enterprises ahead of public listings. So this water is going to be owned. And, you know, we pay for water already all over the world, right? There's no free water anymore unless you're going to trek up and down to rivers and lakes to get your water, or unless you have a well on your property, which, you guys, I'm thinking that we all should be having wells. Those of us who rent, of course, we cannot put a well on someone else's property, which is why we should all be trying to get our own property, right? If you own your own land, you own a hell of a lot. Even if it's a little bit of land, you have the opportunity to grow your own food and put your own water well. But even if you put in your own water well down, you guys, as I said in my other video, the water, even groundwater, is drying up all over the world. I'm going to put a link in for you guys to go look at before and after space views of rivers and lakes all over the world that are drying up. I'm going to read a little bit of a CNN article from back in August, and it just says how dire everything is, you guys. You know, once you hear it in the news, it's almost too late to curb it or reverse it. So according to CNN, a painful lack of rain and relentless heat waves are drying up rivers in the US, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Many are shrinking in length and breadth. Patches of riverbed poking out above the water are a common sight. Some rivers are so desiccated, they have become virtually impassable. So kind of like the Mississippi that I reported on a few days ago. There are barges that are going so slow up and down the Mississippi because there's not enough water. The Mississippi is one of the, or it may be the most important waterway because it goes from north to south, all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. It empties, and that is one of the major waterways in the United States where we get goods from one part of the country to the next. It is very important, and it is drying up. And you guys, this Mississippi River drying up, there are little towns around New Orleans where their water is getting salt water backing up into it because there's not enough force from the Mississippi to keep that clean, fresh water pushing out the salt water. So look at how these people in these little places are already being affected. So they talk about the Colorado River, which I've already talked about in my past videos, how they are drying up. And there's even like old ships that had sunk and bodies, you guys, skeletons that were found in these waterways. Now that they are so dried up, you can actually walk on the riverbed and not have wet shoes because it has dried up that much. The Yangtze River in Asia is drying up at its banks and its beds, emerging in some areas, just like the Mississippi, just like the Colorado, just like the Mead. You can walk on the bottom and not wet your shoes. It's happening everywhere, you guys. The Rhine River in the Swiss Alps, it flows through Germany and the Netherlands, then flows all the way out to the North Sea. It is a crucial channel for European shipping, but right now it's a nightmare to navigate because the riverbeds are sticking up, you guys. Parts of the river's bed have emerged above the water's surface, meaning the ships that do try to pass it must weave around a series of obstacles, slowing the entire process. The River Po, I think this is in Italy. Let me see. The River Po cuts right across the top of Italy and flows out east of the Adriatic Sea. It's fed by winter snow in the Alps and heavy rainfall in the spring, and has a steep fall that brings a fast flow. Typically, devastating floods are more of a problem around this river, but now the Po looks very different. Winter was dry in northern Italy, so snow provided little water, and spring and summer have been dry too, plunging the region into the worst drought it's experienced for 7 decades. It's so dried up that a World War II era bomb was recently found amid its dwindling waters. And you guys, I'm going to put that link in the description so you guys can go and look at the before and after photos from 2021 to 2022. It is devastating to look at, you guys. Really. So we're not only going to experience food shortages, but water is going to become very scarce around the world. It is already drying up, you guys. And once again, I will say, this is in the Bible, that when the Euphrates dries up, we're in deep doo-doo, you guys. And the Euphrates is drying up. Go look at my past videos about this and what is said in the Bible. Now, if you don't believe these prophecies, I think that looking at this will change your mind. Anyway, you guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you have wells on your land? Do you own land? I mean, after my divorce from my first husband, I'm not a landowner anymore, but I'm trying to regain some ownership because it is so scary. The groundwater is also drying up. So hopefully digging a well won't be in vain. I did go back and look at the space maps of where they have this ultrasound thing now that is showing where there's more groundwater and deep groundwater, and the United States still has more available. So if you can, you guys, that's going to be one thing that you can do to secure water for your family. And also, things are about to get really crazy because there's all sorts of predictions for 2023 where prices are going to jump even more. There is more theft going on. In Target, there is 50% more theft of food items, you guys. And we have to secure our homes. If you don't have a GUN, get one or get something to protect yourselves. And we have to keep our food supplies safe, because if they're robbing the stores already, just imagine what's going to happen when people are so desperate for food. All right, you guys, let me know what you think about everything that's going on with the water. That is one of the most, because you can go maybe 14 days without dying from lack of nutrition, but you can only go 3 days without water before you die. So clean water, that is. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think that I'm just overreacting about this? Or do you think that it's right on point? Let's talk about it in the comments.